Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Wellzest podcast. And I am so excited about today's episode. We have Asia Evans, who is a board certified therapist specializing in financial therapy, the author of Feel Good Finance, which just came out, which is so exciting. Congratulations about that. And the president-elect of the Financial Therapy Board Association. So I can't wait to dive into this episode because we're going to talk about your money today and get your money right and your mindset right. Let's dive in. Asia, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. I love talking about this and I feel like we don't talk about it enough. So I'm an open book. I'm ready.
I can't wait. So many questions. I feel like money is something that we don't talk about enough, but everyone has questions about. Everyone is always constantly worried, at least from what I hear. There's always a sense of worry, especially now, I feel like with the economy, people are kind of feeling some type of way about their financial future. So I can't wait to dive in. What we're going to do is this. We're going to start with a round of rapid fire questions. So these are questions that we've received from a variety of different sources and would love for you to just dive in and give us some responses. So The first question is, what is one thing people never budget for, but they probably should?
Ooh, that's good. Never budget for. The first thing that came to mind, I'm like, people don't budget in general nearly as much as they need to. So the actual budget, I will plug that. But what do they never budget for? That's a great point. I don't know. I feel like people really underestimate just like the little like miscellaneous stuff. So it could be anywhere from like pet food and like your pet needs all the way to like what happens in this. Just like, oh, I had to go to Target, right? Like, Are you getting your dish soap? Like, what kind of, is that like a Target line or a Amazon line? Like putting in the line for the little things that oh, I need a paper clip for something, or I needed to get laundry detergent. Like a lot of times people put that under like groceries, but a lot of people just are like, oh, well, I needed toilet paper. That's not really groceries. It's not food, but it is something like household items. I feel like people really either don't budget for or underestimate how much toilet paper you're going through.
So true. So true. Ooh, guilty as charged. What's the best financial advice that you've ever received?
Thinking about your future self when you are putting in like saving for retirement. So envision who you want to be and what do you want your life to look like as your future self, and think about her when I'm trying to invest or save money for retirement.
Love it. Love it. Love it. What's the worst money habit that you've personally broken?
Oh, I was like broken. Well, that's a great question. I've got some worse money habits that I have not broken yet. But not the worst one I think that I have broken, I think is about more around credit cards and how I use credit cards and how I pay them off and what that looks like. Just making sure that I am accruing as little interest as humanly possible was definitely something that was not in my life before. And I do have credit card debt. Like I still utilize my credit card, and have some debt, which I'm paying off. And I think it's important to name that because a lot of people assume that, oh my God, somebody is a professional in personal finance or talks about financial therapy. It means that they have no money, quote unquote faux pas.
I love that you shared that. Thank you for that, because I agree. I've always had that. You hear people who are in the financial space talking, I'm like, oh my God, they must have like everything so perfect. So
right. 800 credit score, everything's exactly
great. Thank you for sharing. If you don't mind, one follow-up to that. What is a money habit that you haven't broken, if you're open to sharing?
Oh, yeah, eating out. And not just eating out, because I do love eating out, but I really use like getting delivery or eating out as a coping strategy. So if I'm like stressed or upset, the first thing I want to do is get food, go out to eat, do something. I want ambiance. I want deliciousness. So yeah, I don't think it's really bad, but I do go over my budget sometimes when I am just overspending because I want to feel better, honestly.
I love myself a good Uber Eats.
Right? Come
Uber
on.
Eats delivery.
Yep.
Bring the ramen to me.
Yes. And it's always ramen. It's always ramen.
Always ramen, at least for, yes, for me.
Yeah. Yep.
This may actually lead to our next question. What is your guilty pleasure purchase?
Oh, it's food.
Food.
100% food. Food, 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 food.
Yeah,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. Mine is, I would say, yeah, food and cute dresses, man.
Yeah.
That's when I need to like, I need to put a budget around.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it used to be shoes, right? And like any kind of like, I love a fly shoe, right? A flat, a
Right?
heel, a
Me
sneaker, a
too.
boot. It really does not matter. I do not discriminate. But more recently, it definitely is about food than it is anything else.
Fly shoes.
I'll drop a lot of money on a meal. I will.
Yeah, me too. Same, me too. Another thing, what is one thing everyone should stop spending money on?
I'm like food. People, and I say that like obviously make sure you're eating, of course.
Yeah.
Eating out in a way that's just kind of like unintentional. So if it's just like, oh, I just went grocery shopping, but let's go eat out, right? Like full fridge full of food, pantry stocked,
Right.
but you're still like, oh yeah, let's go out to eat because you're, doing it for the ambiance and that sort of thing. And then what else I will say is that people should stop spending on kind of like the mindless scrolling and seeing whether it's an influencer, somebody that you see online, whomever it is, and you're
Right.
just mindlessly buying something without realizing whether or not you actually need it, actually want it. You're just kind of like mindless. I think spending is really where I'm getting at.
Yeah, especially with things like TikTok Shop, where
Yeah,
someone's
so
like,
easy.
hey, look at this. And, TikTok made me buy it, that whole trending
Yep.
hashtag. Yes,
Yep.
yes, yes.
Yep.
What is the most overrated financial tip?
I'm like, money isn't emotional. I'm like,
Yeah.
BS.
Oh, I know. Yes, I can't wait. I've seen more people cry over money than
Yes.
probably over, work or anything in their life. And even relationships. I've seen more relationships crumble over money issues.
Yeah. It's the top
So
top reason why people get divorced.
yeah,
Money.
100%. What is your holiday spending weakness?
Oh, my children.
Yeah,
My children and like wanting to get them not just all of the things,
right.
but part of my money story is just kind of like what it looks like to kind of spend to keep up, or like what's the latest, or like what are the kids wearing, and that's just part
Right.
of my own journey, which we all remember what it felt like when you either had the cool sneakers on or you didn't, or you wanted
Yes.
to get certain pair of jeans but your parents were like absolutely not. Like we all know what that felt like, so that is difficult for me not to put onto my kids, and my kids are pretty young, but that's more about my baggage than it is about theirs.
Yes. Oh my gosh. This is a whole other thing. I was actually talking to a friend the other day, and my dad is Nigerian, and we were talking about having like a Nigerian father and just, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the fact that I remember growing up, my dad didn't understand really Adidas sneakers. Like, why
Yeah.
would
Oh.
you pay so much for these sneakers with 3 stripes
Yep.
when you could go to Payless and get them for 4 stripes? And you get an extra stripe. And like, and we were talking, I guess there's a movie where this same thing happens,
Yep.
like I don't know what movie it is. And we were dying of, now we can look at it as adults and be
Yeah.
laughing, but as kids, it's really tough when you don't
It
have
felt
the
so
like,
meaningful.
exactly, the Adidas or the Stanley Cup now that
Yep.
everyone is talking about. Like it feels like you're socially an outcast, which is really difficult.
Yes.
So
And less than, if you
yeah,
feel
exactly.
less than. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. What are 3 words that you would use to describe your money philosophy?
Ooh. They kind of contradict each other, as you can imagine. So I'm a woman of many words, so trying to get them down to just 3 is difficult. So what I will say is a little hypervigilant. I would say spontaneous, which is to
Okay.
my point of
Okay.
them
Okay.
contradicting each other.
Okay. Yep.
And then like I'm like, how do I describe the importance of like having fun and living life in one word?
Ooh.
That's the word.
Wouldn't that having fun like vivacious maybe?
Right? Like it's
Like
I need to squeeze that into a
zestiness?
word. So
Yeah,
if
like
somebody knows the word, let me know.
yeah. Someone leave in the comments. What's the word?
Yep. What's the word? Yeah.
What's the word? Yeah.
Hypervigilant, spontaneous, and something about like YOLO.
Yeah, YOLO. Hey, YOLO works. YOLO
Yeah.
works. Cash card or digital wallet?
Ooh, card. Definitely
Card?
card.
Okay, interesting. What's your go-to trick for staying under budget?
Hypervigilance and looking at my money quite frequently. And I will say, like, this is fun for me. Like, I like it. I like crunching the numbers. I like using the different systems. So
Okay.
that is not everybody. So it is a good time for me to kind of go in and look at our budget and our tracking, our spending and whatnot. But yeah, for me, it's hypervigilance and fun for making
Right.
sure that we're on budget. But I understand for other people that's not the case.
Right. By the way, follow up to that quick. What tool do you use to track your budget?
So I use a variety of different things. So I tend to really like paper and pen. Like I think something about my learning style, I like to write it and read it. So that's important for how I like take in information and learn. But I also like that your apps can connect directly to your bank account. So I just started, I'm on a trial with Monarch
Oh, no.
and really enjoying that because I love a good UX, honestly.
Me too. Yep, my marketing background. I'm like a good UX, a little gamification, then I'm
Yep.
in, you know?
Yep. And a notification. I
Yep.
love that they'll tell me, like, girl, you're going over your budget. I'm like, thank
Yes.
you. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes. I miss mint.com for that. I
Me
used to use it.
too.
I'm like, come on, we need you.
Bring it
Like, what,
back.
yeah, bring it back. Someone. Who do we need to petition? I miss that app so much. It was so helpful. Um, Last rapid fire question.
Yeah.
What is the most underrated financial habit?
Oh, definitely like investing and saving for retirement.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed.
Like people do not think about how important it is to like set it and forget it. You don't need to be in there all the time. You don't need to be looking. Set it and forget it. That's it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Amazing, amazing. Now, I want to transition and dive more into your story. So,
Yeah.
you are a board certified therapist and you made the transition to focusing on financial therapy. What spurred that transition? What drove that?
Yeah, a lot of it was my own story and really diving into personal finance and understanding money in general. So I was, a mid 20 something living in New York City and didn't understand where my money was going, was living my best life, making it rain, going to brunches, shopping, sending my laundry out, doing all the things, like traveling to see my now husband, but boyfriend at the time in a different city. I was living. And I didn't understand where my money was going. I didn't understand why my savings wasn't bigger, or why my credit card wasn't being paid off if I was only paying the minimum. It just didn't make sense to me. So that really spurred me on a financial awakening to, educate myself about personal finance. And then when I was doing that and my clients would bring up that they were stressed about money, I was like, oh, let's talk about it. What's going on? Like, let's really
Right.
dive in. And then I was like, there's something here. Like, what do I call this? Or like, what are people, are other people doing this? And that's when I found the Financial Therapy Association and got really involved with them, as well as finding Trauma of Money too, and did that certification and, have gotten involved with that. So it just kind of led me on this path. It took a while, right? My financial awakening was probably 10 or so years ago, but it took me a while to realize that other people were doing this work. It had a name. Yeah, and there's research behind it. So, yeah, that's kind of what led me here. My own journey in realizing that people were not talking about it and we need to, and how emotional money is.
Why don't we talk about money as a society? Like, at least for me, I know I grew up and there are all of these, how do I articulate this? Paradigms maybe about money. It was like, oh, you should never share your salary with anyone else. Like, you should, if you ask for more money, you need to then show, it was like there was all of these scripts and it was almost like you needed to hide how much you were earning.
Yes,
And it was,
it's a secret.
a secret. And it was, disrespectful or arrogant if you talked about money. Where does this come from? I don't
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is that I do think that there was a time where people were trying to be a little bit more modest about their
Right.
income or not make people feel bad about where they were financially comparatively to where the other person might be. I do think that there is some truth in that. So like the be humble, don't be boastful kind of thing. But I think we have definitely segued from that. Like
Right.
a lot of social media is about being boastful. It is about your highlight reel. It is about,
Right.
hey, I want to tell everybody that I did take this bomb ass vacation to Bali, right? Like
Right.
people want to share that. And it's amazing. But I think what happens is that people then tie their own self worth to what they can afford, how much they deserve as a person to what they can afford, they, how much respect kind of thing that
Right.
they can earn because of how much money they're making or their profession. So we really have shifted away from the, hey, we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or have them feel less than to, oh, well, I am XYZ because I make this. And it really is just tying your self-worth to your net worth. And that isn't helpful, right? Like that's not real. We're
No.
all deserving
Hmm.
of everything just because you're born, right? Just because you're a human being and you're born, and that's enough reason for you to deserve anything.
I love that. I love that you said that. Yeah, I think that there's a not enoughness that
Yeah.
is pervasive now, in especially on social media, and people feel like, at least I feel this way sometimes. Like I'll log on to Instagram and I'm like, this person was just doing this, that, and the other. Okay, now look at their new G wagon.
Yep. Yep. And why don't I have it? And I'm not on top of things. And
Yeah,
then we start these
exactly.
terrible narratives about ourselves that can be really painful and really damaging to how we see ourselves and our self-esteem. And it's just very easy to go in that direction. And
Right.
we just really don't need to. And it's vulnerable, right? It turns into
Absolutely.
something that feels like a vulnerability.
Absolutely. I want to get your hot take quickly talking about social media. What do you think about all of these like financial gurus, the like financial bros that are online now? They're like, like, oh, you need to do this. Or the other thing I see, there's this one YouTuber, I can't remember his name. I think anyway, I don't want to misquote it. He actually tries a lot of the financial gurus'
Yep.
recommendations and
That's
sees
fine.
if they work. And it is
Yeah.
a proper hoot. It has me cracking up because a lot of them don't.
Yep.
I would love your hot take. What do you think about, the financial narrative and these influencers, putting out financial information online?
Yeah, I mean, one, I will say, above all else, please vet your sources. Like, vet
Right.
your sources
Exactly.
to the max.
Right.
Money is always going to be sexy, right? Like, we are
Mm-hmm.
obsessed with money. So, if
Yes.
somebody's telling you you're going to get rich in 2 hot seconds because you did XYZ, okay, where's that information coming from,
Exactly.
right? So please vet your sources. If it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. So
Mm-hmm.
making sure you vet your resources is number one, I'll say. Hot take. And then, second hot take, like a little freebie for you, is that if you are paying attention to people online this way, that is a good thing that you're trying to learn about money. I
Right.
do like that you're trying to get this information.
Right.
Getting a bite sized information is amazing, right? But you
Right.
need to make sure it's
Mm-hmm.
quality information. You need to make sure that you are
Mm-hmm.
not investing your life savings and going to end up in the poorhouse because it was squandered or scammed away from you. So that's why it's so important to go back to number one and vet your sources. But the fact that we can get bite sized information so quickly online about personal finance education, I think is awesome. I just don't want people spreading lies.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so much, unfortunately, there's amazing folks out there like who are, talking, speaking through
Thank you.
experience, who are trained. And then there's ones that are out there that are like, yeah, invest in this crypto. And,
Right.
it's a lot of times it doesn't work out as people would plan,
And it's
which is
very
unfortunate.
risky. Like
Very
it's
risky.
for some people it can work out, and that's how you get people like,
Right.
oh well, this person rags to riches, or they invested $1 and now they've got 10 million
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
great, right? But yeah, that might happen to one person, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen to you, and that's very, very, very risky.
Right, right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to go back to financial therapy. So walk me through what is financial therapy and how is it different than, going to traditional therapy?
Yeah, so I am trained as a traditional therapist,
Right.
and the way I do financial therapy really is very similar, but we are focused on money and how it's impacting your life. We're focused on your behaviors around money. We're focused on your emotions about money. We're
Mm,
focused on your relationship of money. And just kind of dissecting that and looking at how it shows up for you. So that's kind of the way that I do it. But there are other people who are utilizing financial therapy through being a certified financial planner, and they're planning out your money and they're showing you how to invest it and taking into consideration how your emotions may impact what your plan is and what feels right for you or what doesn't. So it's important again to make sure that when you're looking for somebody who's going to do this work, that you're understanding what they're going to be doing with you, like what service they're providing or product that they might be providing for you. So I'm very much so, come sit on my couch and let's talk about your feelings about money.
How do you think your upbringing influences someone's relationship with money, and what are some of the common blocks or scripts or narrative shifts that you have to work through with the clients that come in?
Yeah, so I think that how you either witnessed money or were talked to about money, like your parents or grandparents, aunties, uncles, friends, media, schooling, all of that impacts what we do and how we see money, because it's the beginning of formulating our foundation around our relationship with money. So it's very, very, very important. And if you start to look at your own self and your own money mindset, you'll realize some of those things like crept in that you still believe, even though you may not want to believe it anymore. So it's very, very important to just kind of understand, hey, where did that come from? Is that my belief? Is that somebody else's? And does this still apply to my life today? A lot of the times we are walking around with beliefs that may be applied to a different time in our life, but do not apply today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm curious about your money story. So, what was your earliest memory about money, or earliest conversations about money?
Yeah, so I don't think I talked about this in the book, but I have shared before that one of my earliest money memories, I don't even think is my memory. It's a friend of mine's memory who told me about it, and now I think I've kind of integrated it into mine some way, somehow, right? That happens. But a friend of mine had let me know that when we were younger, we were probably somewhere around 8 or so, that I think we were at the grocery store, or we were at some store doing something, but she said that I went up and like bought like a piece of candy or a bag of chips and like talked to the cashier by myself and did the like exchange of money to buy something on my own. And I remember her telling me, she's like, you were just so confident in it. I could never do that. I was too scared to kind of like talk to an adult or have that kind of exchange or just do that. And you were so confident doing so. And I was like, I love that for me. So,
yes,
right? Like, get it, little baby Asia.
yes,
Yes, queen.
yes.
So again, I don't know if that's my memory or hers, but like now I like have the vision of like glimpses of what that might look like. But yeah, that's the one that comes to mind first.
I love that. I love the confidence. That's I always, I don't have kids yet, but I think that that's the one thing that I hope to be able to instill in them if I should have children, is that confidence, having agency over your, relationship with money, and knowing too that you can manifest and create it, and not to be afraid of it. I think that I personally feel like I grew up very scared of money in some sense, and feeling like I had no way to control how it would come in. And I think it can be very limiting in terms of the decisions that you make and how you make your, you live your life.
Yeah, and it also it can leave you believing that there's just like not enough to go around, or that you have to work ridiculously hard to make money, and that these are all like different money beliefs that then impact how we show up in our world financially. And I feel confident with money, but I don't always feel confident in where I'm at financially. So like those are like two different things, right? I have two young kids. I want to have more money in their college funds. I want to have more money in my retirement, and just making sure that that they're safe and that they're going to be taken care of, and that I'm safe and that I'm going to be taken care of as well. So even though I feel very confident in the steps that money moves that need to be made, it doesn't always mean that I feel confident where I'm at financially. And that is the emotional part that comes up. And it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how much money you make. Sometimes you don't always feel confident in your money. And that's okay, because that's just why it's so important for people to understand that it's emotional, and it doesn't matter what it looks like on the numbers aspect. It's just about how you feel as well. Like, you need both.
Right. Curious on how your money stories shifted as you like grew up and stepped into adulthood. even now having children. And what are some of the emotions that you feel with
Yeah.
respect to your to money and the
Yeah,
energy behind it?
so it really depends on like where I'm at. So, especially when you work for yourself. So, I work for myself, an entrepreneur. It's
Right.
about 4 years. Oh my God, it's going into five. Wow, I just realized that. I love that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Like a little celebratory moment.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
it, especially when you work for yourself, it's so up and down. And it is a constant exercise in believing in yourself and knowing that abundance is going to happen, right? Abundance
Yes,
is going to come to you. You do believe that this is going to work out. You do believe that you can sustain
right.
your family and my life and doing all these things. So that is a roller coaster. I'm going to be honest. Like that is a roller coaster. There are times when I'm
Hmm.
like, "Oh gosh, should I get a job? Like is this going to work out? What am I doing? Is this working? Am I putting my family in jeopardy?" And I feel a lot of financial stress. Then there are other times I'm like, "We got this. This is going to
Right.
be fine. I think that it's working out. It's doing exactly what it needs to do. I'm
Exactly.
riding the high. I'm feeling really good." And sometimes those peaks and valleys come a little quicker than I want them to.
Yeah.
Sometimes the valleys last longer than I want them to. Sometimes the peaks, I'm like, "Oh, this is great. I feel awesome. Everything's wonderful." So it it is a journey. Your relationship with money is a journey. I also remember feeling crushed by my student loan debt. Like I felt like I would never get out of it. And I still have my student loan debt today, but I don't feel crushed about it. So it's just a very interesting dynamic of, hey, when do I feel really confident that everything's going to work out and be okay? And then how do I weather the storm when I'm worried about whether it is going to actually be okay or not?
Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I love what you said about, the journey, especially as an entrepreneur. I think
Oh
that,
my goodness.
there is no way to describe, at least for me, to describe this, the amount of times the cycles can really impact your mental
Yes.
health,
Yes.
your mental
Ooh,
health. I
girl.
know, like you, sometimes I'm like, and I'm curious, what do you think mental health, what is the relationship between mental health and financial decisions? It's something I'm always, I
Yeah.
know I make different decisions when my mental health is not on point. And I'm
Yeah.
curious what you think about the relationship there.
I mean, it's my whole job, so I really love it and I
Yes,
think it's really
yes,
important. But perfect example is when I said like when I'm stressed or if I'm having a hard day, I want to go eat, right?
right.
So if I am not balanced, if I'm not feeling not my best, but just kind of neutral, right? We all know what the neutral feels like. It
Yes.
is very easy for me to then want to blow my budget, to go shopping, to go, hey, I want to redo my room because I'm going to feel better. What you're reaching
Mhm.
for is something that's going to make you feel better, but you are spending money to do that. And a lot of times we don't realize that our coping mechanism is spending money. It is scrolling and then trying to wear what that person
Mhm.
was wearing or do what that person was doing, or I want to emulate that. I want to live like that. I'm going to work out every day if I have a $50 Stanley Cup. Like all of these
Right.
things come up and tell you, hey, you'll be better if only you insert item here, insert next buy here. So a lot of it really is just understanding how you're feeling so that you can cope better, so that you can do the things that are going to help you feel better without spending money. And if sometimes you're spending money, fine. Like, listen, I
Right.
want you to spend your money and enjoy your money when you can afford it. I just don't want people spending their money frivolously because they feel bad. And that's really my mission. It's not to say, hey,
Mm.
get on a budget and never spend your money. No, my mission is to be like, I want you to understand how you're feeling so that you're not spending your money trying to get out of the feeling. Let's get out of the feeling and then save, meet your financial goals, save for retirement, live a beautiful life, and spend your money and enjoy it. I just don't want it to be unintentional and frivolous.
So, so true. And I think that consumerism pushes us
Yeah.
into, hey, I'm a marketer and I'll be the first to say, like, y'all got to watch those marketers because they're
Ooh,
going to try to, they're going to try to, hey, you need this, you need that, you need
yeah.
that, and that's why I think some of the best marketers study psychology and consumer
Uh,
behavior.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
talked about it in the
yes.
book.
Oh, you
I
do? Oh,
was
yes,
so
yes,
shocked when
yes.
I realized the deep rooted connection of psychology and marketing. I was like, oh, they're coming after our brains?
They a
They
hundred
know.
percent. They know. I'll be the first to tell you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, and I always talk about the ethical marketing as a concept, and I think that a lot of times marketing isn't ethical, and there's people who prey on people's insecurities,
Yep.
their mental health, and try to get you into this loop of buy, buy, buy that
Yes.
can be incredibly detrimental and toxic, unfortunately.
And that's literally why I wrote the book, because I want people to understand what they're going through, where their emotions are at, what their history is, so that when they're not feeling the best, you cope in the ways that you need to cope, and then you spend your money when you actually really want to spend your money, not because you were feeling bad.
100%, 100%.
And happy too, because we do
exactly,
that.
Exactly. It can be a celebratory thing to spend your money,
100%,
as long as
100%.
it's in alignment with your goals and but it doesn't put you out, That's what I
Right.
always think
Yeah.
about in context of how I, spend my money or spend my energy. I really do think money is energy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
How does someone pull themselves out of that loop? Let's say you're caught in that loop of, like, I'm not feeling that great, I'm struggling, I'm going to spend to make myself better. And, I think related to that is, when do you know that you maybe need a financial therapist, that you're in a place that you need professional support in order to overcome?
Yeah, I would say when you find that you are making the same mistakes over and over and over again, when you find yourself doing the same cycle, the same pattern, and you don't like it, and you're like, ugh, I did it again. Ugh, I'm mad at myself. Ugh, I crossed my boundary. I don't have money. I'm stressed. I'm waking up in the middle of the night worrying about money and how I'm going to pay for whatever it might be. So if that's something that you find yourself butting up against consistently, or feeling like uncomfortable about your money, because it doesn't always have to be that you don't have enough money. You could be sitting on millions and be like, I'm uncomfortable, I don't want to spend my money, and you're hoarding your money and you don't know how to spend it, and you're just like very stressed out about it. That is a time to start, thinking about potentially talking to somebody like me.
Right. And I love that you brought up the point of people who may have a lot of money, and I actually know a few people like this. That because of their background, maybe they came from a really poor family, or they came to this country as an immigrant and didn't have anything, and they've amassed a ton of wealth. And these people, they won't even spend money on like a cheeseburger, or they're like literally
super frugal.
Super frugal. And I think that that's something that we often don't talk about the contrary. It's always like people who are spending. Okay, yes, we know that archetype. But there's people who have such scarcity in the other direction, where they don't feel abundant, even though they're sitting on millions, which...
Yeah, and they're scared, and they're worried, and it's a big issue. And I talk about this sometimes when it comes to retirement, that people may have spent decades working, and now it's time for them to just enjoy. But the act of just taking out money from this huge pot and not replacing it feels wild to them. They're like, oh, you just want me to spend it and not work for it, and they can't enjoy their money. And that to me is just tragic. Like, that is a tragedy that you've worked so hard to get to this point, and now you're struggling to enjoy it.
I agree. I actually see that a lot as well, which is, or people feeling like too, I'm actually curious what you think is, in terms of outsourcing tasks. Like, I'll see people in their older age, and while they have the money to afford maybe like a gardener or someone to like shovel the snow, whatever it may be, they don't want to spend that money out of fear. What
I'm
are
like,
your thoughts
outsource
there?
it.
Yeah, me too. Right? I'm like, if it fits in your budget, I think the relationship. I'm curious of your thoughts. The relationship between time and money. When do you know to outsource something? When do you know like that's the right use of your capital?
Yep.
Walk me through your thoughts there.
I mean, here's the thing. If you have the money,
Right.
then outsource it, unless it's bringing you joy, right? Like, if somebody, like, I don't want anybody to like do my gardening because I like it. I like to go see what I'm growing and how my compost has turned into veggies, and now I'm going to cook them. Like, that's cool to me. I like that. But if you're like, this is a chore, I don't want to go out to do this, and you have the money, like, time, it's not just like time is money, but time is literally our most precious resource. You will not get any second back ever. And that is a precious, precious resource. And if you have the money to buy back yourself the time to do the things you enjoy, spend more time with your family, sleep, relax, read a book, whatever it might be, why aren't we doing it? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
why are we not doing this? And that's more based on some money belief or principle that you have for yourself, or it's like, oh, I need to be the one who always does it. Oh, only these type of people hire somebody to do that. Like, that is something else that we probably need to dissect in my office. But if you have the money to afford it and you'd rather be doing something else, then let's do it. Like,
Exactly.
outsource it.
Yeah, that's something that I've always, I like scratch my head, but yeah, I think that that's a story that needs to be cleaned up. And I'm actually curious,
Yep.
when people come to you, what are maybe give me like three adjectives to the positive that you hear people saying about money. I'm also curious, people who already have an abundance mindset,
Yep.
what are the scripts, what are the adjectives they're using when they talk about money? And the people who have maybe a negative, we'll call it, or poor relationship with money, what are the adjectives? How are they describing money? What are the statements that you often hear them making?
Yeah. So people who like have the money, I think they're making statements of like, and it's not even just, it's a certain mindset. So it's, yes, part of it is you have the
Right.
money, but it's also
Right.
just the mindset of this is not a scarce resource. And I don't want to necessarily harp on abundance and scarcity because I think that can get very like TikTok woo woo.
Yes. Yep.
But there is something to be said when you do believe that the money will come back to you and it's okay. This does not mean put yourself at financial risk. It
Right.
just means, oh, it's only money, or it will be okay because, fill in the blank here. And I'm very cautious to make sure people understand. You cannot like, manifest your mortgage being paid without money in your actual account.
Can we? Yes.
Like I'm here for the manifestations. I'm
Yes.
here for the affirmations. I love them. I think they're
Me too.
fantastic. I do think that they hold power, but you also actually need the money in your account. Do not spend your rent thinking that you're going to manifest money back into your account in a week. Like,
Right. Right.
no, that's
Right.
not
Right.
safe. That's
Agreed.
not stable.
Agreed.
I don't want that
Agreed.
for you. So, some of the abundance mindset, like back to the like phrases that people might use are like, oh, it's only money, or it will be okay. And like
Right.
trusting that it will be okay because they know that something else is either going to work out, or they have the emergency fund, or they have a
Right.
fallback or a plan B type of thing. And then on the flip side, what I would say for people who are living more in a scarcity mindset, or just like very worried about their money, is that they're always stressed. Like, money is stressful, money is hard. I have to work really, really hard for my money. So some of those phrases come up for people who just do
Mm,
not believe that, like, that there's not enough pie to go around, if you will.
right.
And I do believe that there's enough pie to go around. And I think I work hard for my money. I think a lot of people work hard for money, but I don't feel like you have to work hard for money. Some
Mm.
people are not working that hard for their money. They're not.
No, it's so true. And that's actually one of my limiting beliefs was always I need to work 10x harder than
Yep.
anyone else to earn
Yep.
money. And it's something even now I have to really catch myself.
Yep.
And I think another one too for entrepreneurs is demanding your worth.
Yes. Oh, so hard.
From a pricing perspective, I think that that's something that we don't talk about enough. It's like
Yep.
you're like, well, I shouldn't really charge for this, or maybe I shouldn't, and like wrapping your head around worth and wrapping your head
Yes.
around the value that you're providing and pricing that accordingly.
Yeah. And it's
As an
also saying that if you have to walk away, right? Like if somebody's not going to pay your worth, it's also believing that something else will come to you. Right?
Yes.
Like that this isn't the last deal that's going to happen. This isn't the last sale that's coming to you. Like you do believe more will be there.
Yeah, and it's something that's so interesting because I think that as entrepreneurs, you talk a lot about your product or your service, but not enough about the pricing. Like,
Yep.
how do we price things accurately? How do we,
Yep.
walk away from those bad situations? How do you walk away from a bad client? And I know that this was something that I struggled with when I first started my business. It was like, well, any money is good money. We just need to like we need to get the cash rolling in, which, when you're first starting a business,
Partly true.
that it's a part of the reality.
Yep.
But I wasn't willing to walk away from clients that
Yep.
weren't in alignment or things
Yep.
that, really weren't going to work out, even though my gut told me. because
Yep.
they're so worried about the money. So worried. I'm curious, what has been your experience there as an entrepreneur?
Um, it has been such a beautiful glow up, I will say.
Yeah.
Because now I just do not have to do anything I don't want to do. Like
Mm,
honestly, I do not have to do this because I do also believe that it will come to me, that there will be another opportunity. And I say that because there have been times I'm like, oh, I have to do this. I have to do that. Have to work in this certain kind of way, believing that something else wasn't going to come after. And it always does, right? And so
always
it's
does.
proved me wrong that it's like, oh, if I'm uncomfortable or I don't like, working with this kind of human or this service or this, like,
Right.
I don't like how something was treated, I'm like, I don't actually have to do that. Like, I just don't have to.
Right.
And that has given me so much confidence and power to know, like, I can literally just walk away. I can say no. And that's
Exactly.
it. I can say
Exactly.
no. And
Right.
that's been really nice and validating, especially as a Black woman, to be like, oh, I
Right.
do have control over this. It's my business. I get to choose who I work with. And people can say, like, oh, it's business, it's not personal. I'm like, yeah, that's fine, but it's my business. So I get to choose.
Exactly. Exactly. And you have agency over it and you get
Yeah.
to. I think that that's that mindset as well. And that's an abundant mindset,
Yeah.
and I think that more comes to you when you have that mindset. People are attracted to what you're doing, which is
Yeah.
amazing. You talked about boundaries really quickly, and I want to go back there. So, how does someone set financial boundaries and what does that actually look like?
Yeah, so setting financial boundaries could be you're setting the boundaries with other people, and it could be setting the boundaries with yourself. So,
Right.
an
Right.
example of setting a boundary with yourself might be, hey, I'm only going to spend $500 on takeout this month. That's just an example. Like, for some people it might be more, some people it might be less, just a
Right.
number. But that is a financial boundary you might be setting. Or for some other people, it could be, I'm only going to give this much amount of money, or somebody's asking you for money, and you're like, hey,
Mm,
I can't give you that, but here's what I can give you. Or I'm not going to feel pressure to go on that trip that I don't want to go on, or go to
right.
that dinner, or, do things that you don't want to do financially, but you feel worried about saying.
Right.
And just recognizing, like, how do you feel when you cross your own boundary? How do you feel when you do say yes to things that you wanted to say no to? How do you feel when you say no to things you wanted to say yes to?
Right.
So just understanding that boundaries can be hard, telling people no can be hard, setting the boundary can be difficult for yourself as well as other people. And it's about you making sure that you maintain comfort in your own decisions than it is about
Right.
anything else.
Right, absolutely. And speaking of boundaries, dealing with family and money,
Oh yeah.
how talk to me about family dynamics and money. How do you deal with family members that are coming to you, asking you for money all the time? Like, how do you deal with that? How do you respond to them? Walk me
Yeah.
through that.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I will say is, like, respond what feels right. I always say use I statements. So make sure that you are starting from I, not you did this. No, no, no. We're not
Right,
pointing a
right,
finger.
right, right,
Just I feel like this. I can do this. I'm willing to do this. Like, you figure out what your own boundary is and then communicate that. Communication is so, so, so important when it comes to any type of relationship, and communicating what feels comfortable for you, whether the person is going to like it or not. And here's the thing,
right,
you might
right.
upset people and they can
Mm-hmm.
be upset. And
Mm-hmm.
you're not responsible for their emotions. They may make you want to feel like you're responsible, but you are not responsible for
Right,
their
right,
feelings. And people may
right,
be upset, and that's okay. We can process that, right? You can
right.
move through what it means when a family member or a loved one is upset with you, and that's all right. Like, everybody doesn't need to always be happy with you.
Right.
And I don't want people, what's the word, sacrificing themselves for somebody else's happiness consistently. Like, that is a problem,
Right.
consistently doing that.
Right, right. Yeah, and I think that there's so much in family dynamics. There can be so much pressure that, like if someone asks you, hey, it's family, and you're
Yep.
supposed to do right by your family. Are there any
Yep.
scripts or things that you've coached with your clients to say, okay, if that's a problem in your family, or you feel like you're feeling like, it's gotten to that point where it's consistent.
Yep.
Are there any scripts that you've, leveraged with your clients and said, hey, this is maybe how you can handle, or this is what you should say?
Yeah, I mean, it's never like, it's never the same because everybody's so individual. But
Right.
like I said, I'll stick with the I statements. It's so, so important. Understanding what your boundaries are and like what your own limits are is so, so important. And then sometimes it's just like, no,
Yeah. No is a
and
full
don't say
statement.
anything else, right? Like, just say what you need to say and then stop talking. Like, for a lot
Exactly.
of people, it's like you want to explain it. You want them to come to your side, that you want them to understand where you're coming from. They may not understand. And that's okay
Right.
because they're trying to get their needs met in some way, shape, or form. But you trying to meet their needs is taking away from your ability to meet your own needs, whatever that is. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean, oh, well, I have the money, so I should give it. That's not what I'm saying. Your needs, as
Mm-hmm.
like what feels comfortable for you, are also part of your needs too. And that's really hard. It's very hard notoriously for communities of color because we really take a village approach. We take a
Yes.
community approach. And people often are like, Asia, you want me to say no to grandma? You want my mom's going to be on the street? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's actually not what I'm saying.
Right.
But I am
Right.
saying that you
Right.
can say no to your family sometimes, that you do have to put your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to move into the Reddit rabbit hole. So we have searched Reddit for a few responses and questions related to financial worries, and I would love for your take on a few of them. So this first one, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this one is about job hoarding. So someone says, how to stop job hoarding because of money anxiety. So this person says, long story short, they've had multiple side hustles ever since they started working years ago. They're super underpaid at their full-time job, but they've managed to more or less double their income with freelance side work in a variety of fields over the last few years. And they're making about 150 total. So they've been very burnt out over the last few years.
Yeah.
So working less could present an opportunity to heal, refresh, and learn how to relax and lead into hobbies. But they can't seem to feel, they can't shake that feeling of feeling like they need job diversity. Does anyone else deal with this? How to stop this anxious desire to maximize my income at all possible times? Thoughts
Yeah.
there?
I'm like, you please come see me, Asia Evans, Asia E Therapy on Instagram. So one, I will say some of this is there are certain cultures where they like this is very important, right? Like working and working as hard as you can. So that's really important of understanding like where is this like embedded inside of you? It could be from your family, it could be from a macro culture, whatnot. That's important. Also, like hustle culture is real, right? Like it's
Right.
a real thing. So after looking at that, then it's about like how much money do you need? Because it sounds like you've doubled your income.
Right.
Do you need to be working this much? Because it doesn't even sound like it's about job diversity. It sounds like it's about money. You can have a side hustle, one job, and your main job if you wanted to. Or do you need to become a full time freelancer? Do you need to start running a business that allows you the diversity of doing a lot of different things multiple times versus like, hey, I go to my 9 to 5, but before my 9 to 5, I have my 5 to 9. And then after my 9 to 5, I have my 5 to 9. So figuring out like, what is this all for? What are you trying to do? Do you have a goal at the end of, all this time of this money? Is it to retire early? Is it so that you have enough savings to not work for 2 months? So really dissecting like what this is about, because it does not sound like it's just about job diversity. You can become a freelancer and have that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to do one more with you. So this person says they're not going out with friends as often to save money, but in response are being called a bad friend. So I'm not going to, read the whole thing, but pretty much this person's trying to save money. They're not going out and people are ragging on them for that. What is your advice to them?
Get new friends. Just kidding, kind of. Sorry, not sorry. First, I would say, like, how transparent are you being with your friends that you're not going out because you're trying to save money? If your friends really love you, they would be like, okay, let's all do this. Like, how can we get involved? Can we stay in? I'll bring dinner to your house. Do you want to cook something together? Do you want to go for a walk together? Let's do something else. Let's make sure it's low cost. There's so many different ways to hang out and be in community with one another that do not involve spending a ton of money. And if your friends are making you feel bad because you don't have the money, then yes, you do need to get new friends.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I know you have to go in our last few minutes together. I would love for you to just quickly debunk some myths.
Yeah.
And these are myths we're seeing on TikTok, we're seeing on the gram. One, girl math is a real thing. What do you think about this? Concept.
Girl math at cool. That's cute. And that's as long as that's how much patience I have for that. Like, cool, this is cute. And then after that, it's kind of like, are you giving yourself the excuse to spend? Like, if you want to spend the money, spend the money. Do you have the money to spend? Because if you're doing girl math, like it sounds like you're just looking for a reason to make it okay for you to spend the money. I would rather you negotiate more. Are we talking about girl math when it comes to negotiating at our jobs? Are we talking about girl math when we're talking about the benefits from working or our knowing our value and asking for that value? I would rather you have the money so you don't even need the girl math. Let's just have the money.
The other one that's lurking around is cashless living is the best way to live.
Like no cash and you just use cards and digital. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, you better not go anywhere where it's cash only, because there's a lot of restaurants that are like, we're cash only, but no problems with that as long as you're looking at your money, right? I think the problem with cashless is that it's so easy to spend your money and it just literally flies out of your wallet without actually looking at it. And it is easier to spend it when you don't actually have the exchange of handing over money. But if you're tracking your spending and you're aware of where your money's going, it's fine. I'm mostly cashless myself.
Okay. Manifestation is all you need to achieve financial success.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. What do you do with those millions if you don't have any personal financial education? If you don't know what money moves to make, you can manifest all the money in your account and then what happens to it, right? Like, how do you grow it so you don't need to keep manifesting it? So, no, you need, that's cracking me up. You need to have a little financial education, and you also need to understand your own money mindset and your money beliefs and understand your feelings, which is like, again, my whole book, Feel Good Finance, is all about understanding where your money beliefs come from and why you do the things you do with money. If you have those two things and you're manifesting and the money's coming to you, great, you're set. Cool.
The other one is index funds is the only thing you need to invest in for retirement.
I'm not going to give anybody financial advice, but I think diversifying in some way, shapes, or form is probably a good idea.
Right. The other, skip your morning coffee and you'll retire a millionaire.
Absolutely not.
Okay. No. You don't need a budget. Just spend intuitively. I actually heard an influencer saying that.
I'm like, are we going off vibes? Like, yeah, sure. Listen, you can spend intuitively, but that also sounds like the cousin of like girl math kind of thing. Like, oh, I mean, like, what is it? I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, I'm spending intuitively. It sounds like you're just doing the mental math and hoping you're right.
Right. Yeah, totally. Holiday spending isn't real money. It's a season of giving.
It is the season of giving, and you're going to be giving people a lot more money if you do not pay attention to it. What? It's real money, girl.
Yes.
Girlfriend, that's real money.
It's real money. Yeah.
Tell your landlord that you're just going to like give them some time instead of paying your rent. Absolutely not. What?
Yeah. Buy now, pay later won't hurt your financial future.
Absolutely not. What? These are hysterical. Yes, this is fun.
These are lurking on the interwebs.
And then vet your sources. No.
Yes. And then the last one I'll end on is you can't build wealth without grinding 24/7.
That sounds like somebody's unfortunate money belief. You can build wealth without grinding 24/7. The only thing that needs to be grinding 24/7 for you is your money, right? Like your money needs to be working for you. Your money should be working 24/7. And that means it needs to be in a high yield interest account. It needs to be invested. It needs to be somewhere where it can grow and multiply, where you do not need to be working that hard.
Amazing. Asia, thank you so much. You've just been a wealth of knowledge. I would love to just ask you one closing thing. Any advice you have, if someone is going on a financial journey, they're struggling, what would you recommend for them to do to get started? And then lastly, how can they find you and find your book online?
Yeah, so I would say read my book first, because it's really important for you to understand your emotions and where your money beliefs are coming from and how it impacts like your spending and what you do. Then make sure that you have the personal financial education. Like, get the information. There are tons
right.
of books, tons of resources. Please vet these resources after hearing those myths. Woo!
Right?
Make sure your people know what they're talking about. Like, wow, that's very scary to me. So,
Mhm.
and yeah, and then also talk about money. Talk about it with your friends. Make sure people feel comfortable before you go diving in. But it's really important that we have these conversations.
Yeah.
And you can find my book, Feel Good Finance, wherever you get your books,
Yay.
Bookshop, Barnes and Nobles, indie bookstores. Love it when you support small. And then you can find me on Instagram at Asia E Therapy, as well as TikTok a little bit. And my website is asiaevanscounseling.com.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I truly
Yeah.
appreciate it. And everyone, definitely check out the book.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. Bye.